Being that I use this for wintertime, I did learn a few things about winter preparation for this greenhouse, but overall this worked out great. So let's get started as to figuring out what went right and what went wrong. What's going on, my plant people? I am the ADHD gardener, where I use gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of therapy, and we're going to talk all about my greenhouse. This is a part 2. Basically, I survived wintertime, and that is when I figured out what went right and what went wrong with this greenhouse. Number 1 is I should have pulled this plastic all the way to the front. Why in the world would I stop right here at the entrance and then have to add another piece of plastic? That's because my design changed as I went building it along. It did work out because I had the jiggly wire to holding that piece of plastic together. However, you know what? The next greenhouse that I'm going to build, I'm going to pull this plastic all the way up to the front and then secure it with the jiggly wire and all that, and kind of change it up, because this 2-piece of plastic thing, because I had a hard time keeping the wind and the cold from seeping through the 2 pieces of plastic. That's where I had to get creative and use Velcro, of which, you know what, guess what, tip, Velcro doesn't work that well in the wintertime or when it's wet. So this did not work out well. I mean, it did work on the other side. I'm on the other side where I know that I cannot get in. And if you do not touch the Velcro, it can withstand all of wintertime. But it's still kind of brittle enough where I would not want to rely on that next time. I had to get really creative in how to keep the wind closed and keep this plastic closed. So that is mistake number 2. Okay, this is what the outside of it looks when it is closed up. It doesn't look bad. However, when you get close up, you'll see what I mean. See this? This is open. And I needed to find a way to keep it closed because the wind would just open it like that. And this just happens to be the way that I enter. So that is why I had to come up with a problem. This is why I was having a problem. So luckily I had my bootleg bag of manure that was holding the bottom. But aside from that, notice that I have 3 layers. Now, you don't have to do the 3 layers of plastic if you're not trying to use this during winter time. But if you are trying to use this through winter time, you're going to need a lot of plastic. Now, I learned that aside from the regular main plastic, I added a layer of bubble wrap throughout the entire greenhouse is covered in bubble wrap. And then I also added a spare piece of greenhouse plastic that I had extra. But overall, those jiggly wires really worked because that was keeping everything in place. Explaining all of that, now you see the reason why I said I should have pulled this all the way up for the front. Because, man, this only has 1 layer of plastic. I have the wind problem. And I had to figure out how was I going to keep this closed, being that the Velcro was not working. So what I do is, aside from my bootleg weight that I have right there, I also have to tuck this leftover plastic right here because the jiggly wire is holding a good portion of it. But the rest of it, because technically wind can still seep in there, man, and that's not what I need. So what I do is I tuck the plastic. Whew. That was a mission, but look, that is how I have to close it every single time for the wind. But I gotta say, that was my only problem. That was it, really, was just this. And on top of that, if you're not going to use this for wintertime, then you wouldn't even have this problem. But if you are going to try to use this for the wintertime or to extend your grow season, then this is just something to consider. And now that I know, I can implement something different over here in the second one. Okay, problem number 3. Now, mind you, this would not necessarily be a problem for you if you're just using this as a form of extending your grow time. But if you're really considering growing in the wintertime, then these are some problems or concerns that you may want to address. Aside from adding some more layers of plastic, I had to find passive ways of maintaining heat. So I wound up having 2 hay bales from October time when I decorate in the front. I wound up using that as insulation. I grab up everybody's leaves from fall also. I save them and I store them, and I use that as insulation for the ground. Now I had to figure out how to maintain a temperature. So then I thought of adding a compost pile in here. But of course, that was a great idea. However, I did not start it earlier enough, so it did not gain enough heat throughout the winter time. I also did add a 55-gallon bin, and that's just water, and I painted it black so it can absorb all the heat that comes in. So all that, and not to mention my hoop houses. My poop houses gave me 5 to 10 extra degrees in this greenhouse. With all these things combined, I managed to grow lettuce this winter. It was very slow growing. That's because it was pretty cold in here. So all I know is that for this upcoming winter time, I need to really concern myself with heating this inside. But it worked out pretty good. I think the overall main test here is when would I need to take off this plastic? I want to know what kind of condition the plastic is in, because when I use these jiggly wire, I noticed that in the end they still do wind up puncturing the plastic. Hopefully it's not going to be as bad, but that I won't know until a few months from now. Being that the jiggly wire around the entire greenhouse has not been touched since I put it on, that part is not really affected. The part of the plastic that has been ripped is the entrance part, because I use it over and over again, to get inside. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Because when you take it off, it's an in and out motion because it gets tucked in. All right. So after you take out the plastic and you're ready to go inside, notice right here. You see that? Every time I open or close the greenhouse, it's been ripping right here where I put the jiggly wire. So I'm going to have to note this down or put a marker on it or something to tell me, indicate that this is where the entrance needs to go, so I don't just leave this. But other than that, I only assume that this has happened is because I'm repeatedly opening and closing that jiggly wire. Now, if I was to take it off of here, chances are that the plastic will be intact because I just leave this alone. But the heavy use ones, that definitely is going to happen. Overall, all these things were just minor problems. If you're not going to grow throughout the wintertime, then you're really not going to have much of a problem. I only went through wintertime with this, so I needed to know what would work, what wouldn't work, because I am building a second one, as you can see. So I need to make sure that I can tweak it the right way so I don't make those same mistakes for the second one. Either you're okay with the front of having two pieces of plastic. If you're not winter insulating, then I don't really see it as being a problem that you would need to change. But if you are thinking about trying to grow some crops throughout the winter time, then yeah, those 3 mistakes that I mentioned, we may have to fix that. But you know what? Overall, it worked out great. I'm already preparing for a second greenhouse. I'm just waiting for my boyfriend to freaking jumpstart on this because it's a lot of manual labor and I need that man's help. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, don't forget to smash that like button. I really appreciate it. It super helps me out. If you want to see more videos on gardening, houseplants, and humor as a form of therapy, then consider subscribing and hit that notification bell. I drop a video every week and then some in between. I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm definitely on Facebook more. I'm on there every day and we can talk, laugh, and chill together. So until next time, peace and love. I have some sugar snap peas that are lining all the way around because I know once they grow, they can trellis right up on this cattle panel, which is what I wanted.